Well, that's interesting. So maybe I guess this week it's not going to be as great as we hoped it would be. We have. Did we forget to press the button? Let's see now. For me, it still says, please stand by, starting soon. How about that? Good thing we weren't using that for our main broadcast feed. So it still says, please stand by, starting soon. How about that? So much for YouTube Live. It's a learning curve. And it says you're live. But it's not telling me the truth. Oh, there it goes. Looks like it's going live now. Okay. Well, if you're just watching us on YouTube, then you'll catch the last few minutes of the show. And obviously, this is not going to be fit for a long-term broadcast, but we'll leave it up for a day or two for comparison if you are interested in comparing. Let's take a look back in the chat here and see what else I might have missed. Some questions there. YouTube is live. Okay. And I've got a question from Bob that says, this may be a long subject, what levels do you set? 75%, 100% for PC output and other sound devices? Bob, that's a great question. Let's go back to my screen capture. And we will go down here to speakers in the sys tray, and you can see it says speakers 100%. And if I left click this, that will bring up, let's drag it over here if it'll drag. Oh, it's not going to drag. Oh, well. Anyway, if I could drag it over, but I can't. Excuse me, as you left click on this speaker icon, it basically brings up a mixer, in this case a one-channel mixer, and it's maxed out at 100%. Let's see, if I right-click, let's see what my volume control option is. No, that's not what I wanted. Right-click, open volume mixer, there we go. Let's drag that over where we can see and get that out of the way. You can see basically that everything is maxed out, 100% on speakers, system sounds, TV, TVB, guys show, encode and stream. That's in Wirecast. CPU usage, that's basically the feed that VidBlaster is getting. All of those are at 100%. So I'm basically telling Windows to whatever you hear, whatever you're hearing, wherever you're hearing it, from whatever source that you're hearing it, output it at the 100% of the level that you're hearing it at. And I'm not saying amplify it. I'm saying simply output it at the level that you're hearing it at. Output it at 100%. Now, if I were listening to this show and I were watching myself on the screen and I were listening to it, I would select the speaker icon and I would probably cut it back to about 50% because it probably would be blaring. But from a recording and broadcasting standpoint, we want Windows to pass the audio through at the same level that it hears it. So when Windows hears the audio, don't drop the sound below 100%, and we don't have an option to go above 100%. So pass the sound through on a kind of a 1-to-1 ratio in terms of volume. Don't diminish it, and it can't increase it. And the 100% does not, at least in my experience, doesn't introduce any distortion. Now, it's certainly possible that whatever your source is for that audio could be already distorted. And so if you had Windows sending it through at 100%, you would pick up that distortion. But for example, if you're whatever mic you had, you didn't set the gain on it properly and it were clipping because it was set too high, that process, whatever it was, garbage in, garbage out, that garbage would get passed through Windows at 100%, but Windows should not introduce any distortion. Now, occasionally, depending on the sound cards, in the past, I've gotten a little bit of a hum. Sometimes that's what they call a ground loop, which can be cured by a ground loop isolator or a ground loop preventer, and it depends on, what kind of wiring you're working with, whether it's, a 1/4 inch XLR, 1/8 inch USB, RCA. There are lots of different devices out there that allow you to pinpoint what that is, not to pinpoint what it is, but to fix it. And the easiest way to pinpoint it is to simply unplug something. And if it goes away, that's it. And if it doesn't, plug it back in, go to the next thing, unplug it. And then if it goes away, that was this one, not that one. And then you can figure out what to fix. Sometimes, too, I had a onboard sound on a motherboard that in the onboard audio on that motherboard, there was a little whistle. And the only way I could get rid of that was to swap out the motherboard. But it was a matter of process of elimination to find out where that was coming from. And in this particular case, I had the ability on my mixer to control the volumes, the volumes of the different devices separately, so it was easy to figure out where the problem was coming from. And in this case, it was coming from the speaker output on the back of the PC that was being used as an input to the mixer. And there was a problem with that. Swapped the motherboard for another purpose, actually, but that fixed that as part of that process. So, Bob, really good question. Really good question. And I'll tell you, it took me the longest time of process of elimination to really learn that, that Windows has to be set for 100%. And I can remember some of my early shows, constant feedback of people saying, oh, you're so soft. Your audio is not very loud. And I had the mixer cranked up, and I had all these things cranked up, and it was really as simple as the Windows audio device being 100%. Let's go back to this and see if I can show you one of the things that I did stumble over. We're going to go Windows, we're going to go Playback Devices, and let me find that and drag that over here where we can see it right there. Get that out of the way. And we're going to use the Speakers 6. So this is my Behringer mixer, and I'm going to right-click that. I'm going to go to Properties, and let me drag that Properties window back in here. Let's see, let me get the whole thing in there so we can see it. There we go. And then the tabs, the second tab here is something called Levels. And you can see here the volume control is set at 100%. And this is on the Behringer 6, which is going to be the audio that goes out to my Behringer 6 from the VidBlaster. It says no jack information because really it's going out USB. So let's say OK on that one. We'll go to the speakers for Behringer, which is my Behringer USB sound card. We'll go to Properties. Let me drag that one in so we can see it. There we go. Go to Levels. You can see that one's at 100%. As we go over to the recording side, and we'll go into the main mix from the Behringer, we'll go to Properties and drag that window back over where we can see it. Go to Levels. Let me see. Oh, I've got that level at 74%. Huh. Wonder why I've got that at 74%. That used to be at 100. Maybe this ought to be part of my workflow now to go in and check it. I'm not going to move it right now because I don't want to blow you guys out or create another problem, but I'm sure going to test this right after the show. Let's check and see what the other one is set for. And we'll drag that window back in. Go to Levels. That one's set at 100%. So maybe I've got a little low volume here on my mixer that I didn't know about. Maybe that was left over from my terrible experience a couple of weeks ago. Okay, that was a great question. And let's see if we've got any follow-ups to that. And Fortunately, we've got Martin K in the chat room who is straightening out all my mistakes there. That's good. Let's pop back a little bit further in chat and see if there's some other questions that popped up. Okay, Kent makes the good comment, make sure you get all your videos and images loaded ahead of time. That's a good point, Kent. That would be part of the workflow, is to load up all those videos so that you don't have to do that during a show. I know there have been some cases where people have loaded a video or loaded an audio file, and then things have locked up for them at that point. So it's definitely prudent to get that done in advance. Let's see, it's good to have Braden back with us. And checking for questions here that may have popped up. And looks like folks were saying in the chat room early on, boy, I should have been monitoring this better, that it was not, YouTube was not picking up on what we needed. There was a good question in the pre-show that Kent had about needing more screen real estate. And he was interested in an additional monitor so that he could get basically more space to have things. I know Kent does will bring in guests by Skype, and so he's doing a screen capture on the same monitor that he's also using to control the show with VidBlaster. And so adding a second monitor is a great way to do that. And you can also, if you're cramped for space, you can also basically get a larger monitor with a higher resolution, so that that VidBlaster itself would need a smaller percentage of the screen, so you could have a larger percentage of the screen at a higher resolution available for a Skype capture. So that's another way to handle that. Let's see, any other questions there? All right, good questions and good comments. Really appreciate the feedback. And, you know, I really do feel a partnership with folks that are able to come and watch live and correct me. I think there's some people that enjoy that, perhaps a little too much. But that's okay. That's okay. I certainly need all the correction I can get. Next week, on a personal note, and this has to do with next week. Next week, the show would be on November 6th, and I'm hoping that will be the case. I do have a grandbaby due. This will be grandbaby number 2 in the Sinclair clan. Actually, it will be the 11th boy in a row, starting with my dad and me and my 3 brothers, and my brothers and my 5 sons, and now 2 grandsons on my part. So there are 11 boys in a row, no girls. The only way we get girls is to marry them, which is good because then we get who we want. But that grandbaby may be born next week, not sure. And if that's the case, that we will probably not be doing a show. So if that's the case, we'll have to give away 2 packages of VidBlaster the next week. And if by some chance we end up doing a show at an earlier day or time, or a later day and time, I'll make sure I put that on the website, thatvidblasterguy.com. And of course, if you follow us on Twitter, we'll keep you up to date on all that kind of stuff on Twitter, @VidBlasterGuy. I hope you'll stick around for the post-show, the after show. I've got something that I want to bounce off some of you that have good ability to say, no, Tom, that's a stupid idea. Maybe not. Anyway, I'm Tom Sinclair, that VidBlaster guy. It's been a treat to be with you today. I look forward to seeing you again on another day live. Would love to have you go back and watch all of our videos on YouTube. In fact, go back and watch the first couple of ones. They were so bad. and you say, okay, well, golly, I don't know if I'm going to be good enough to do a show. Go back and watch some of those first shows that I did, and you'll feel much better about the shows that you're thinking about doing. You'll say, that guy was so bad, I can do better than that. And then you say, oh, he came out pretty well after only a year of trying. Okay, enough of that. It's a treat to be with you. I look forward to being with you again, and take care. Hang on a second, guys. I'll be right there. Okay, now I want to try to kill this YouTube show at the right time, because it's about a 27-second delay. And here it comes to an end, and I think it's over. So we're going to say stop streaming.